Adolf Hitler, the most important person of the 20th century and the most important event of the 20th century, World War II, in which 60 million people died. After World War I, sanctions were imposed on Germany, and they were prevented from increasing the number of their army to more than 100,000 people, and they were forbidden to arm themselves in any way that could pose a threat to any other country. All this made Hitler feel that his country had been wronged. Hitler was working on the idea of rearming the German army. The rearmament plan was initiated by some German army officers before Hitler even came to power. For example, in 1920, General Hans von Seeckt, who was responsible for building up the army. He was allowed to have only 100,000 men in his army, a small number, so General Hans von Seeckt decided to train them to become officers, not soldiers, because when the opportunity to increase the number of the army came, it would be easy for these officers to lead the recruits. Germany was restricted from doing anything by the Treaty of Versailles that was signed at the end of World War I in 1935, and immediately after the treaty was terminated, Hitler created the Armed Forces Reorganization Act and announced the creation of the Luftwaffe, and reintroducing compulsory conscription from the age of 20, even the children he introduced to the so-called Hitler's Youth, an organization that trains them to bear arms and military life from the age of 14. All this contributed to an increase in the number of the army. In 1937, the army numbered 5 million. In 1938, Hitler hosted the Austrian ruler in Berlin and threatened him that if they did not implement his requests, they would invade Austria. Not only that, but the ruler of Austria agreed to appoint Nazi ministers in his government. Hitler became the most powerful man in Europe, so much so that Times magazine declared Hitler Person of the Year for 1938. On March 13, 1939, Hitler invited Hácha, president of Czechoslovakia, to a meeting in Germany. Hitler threatened to invade the country militarily if he did not sign the surrender note. Hácha signed the surrender, and 2 hours later, the German army was inside Czechoslovakia. Hitler also wanted to occupy Poland, because that is the place you would pass through if you wanted to occupy Russia or the Soviet Union. Hitler wanted to enter Poland with a guarantee that Russia would not interfere. Hitler commissioned the Minister of the Interior to agree with Molotov, the Russian Interior Minister, and on August 24, 1938, Molotov signed a peace treaty with Germany for a period of 10 years. It is said that a secret clause was made guaranteeing that Stalin would not interfere in the invasion of Poland. Hitler was looking for any excuse to invade Poland. Reinhard Heydrich, the person who gave an excuse to Hitler to occupy Poland. September 1, Heydrich made some soldiers and some political prisoners to wear the clothes of Polish soldiers, and he made them attack the German customs and guard areas and kill political prisoners on the borders of Poland and Germany to make it appear that the Poles were the ones who started the war. The next day in Parliament, Hitler condemned the attack, and the invasion began. 2 days later, Britain and France declare war on Germany, and World War II begins. Poland collapses within a month. Hitler annexed the western region of Poland to Germany, and Russia took the eastern region under the pretext of protecting the Russians in the eastern region. After the fall of Poland, Hitler wanted to get rid of the threat of Britain and France so that he could focus on his most important goal, Russia. You will be surprised and say that there is a peace treaty for 10 years. Hitler believed that Russia or the Soviet Union was a country of Jews or communists. The two things Hitler hated the most were Jews and communists, and in order to ensure the success of his plan, he had to preserve the supplies that came from Northern Europe, and in the month of April he occupied Denmark and Norway, and in the month of May he occupied France, the Netherlands, Luxembourg and Belgium. Now there is nothing left but Britain. Churchill, the Prime Minister of England, believed that Hitler's danger would not stop except by eliminating and defeating him. Hitler tried to reach a diplomatic solution with Britain, but Churchill refused, so Hitler ordered the Air Force to bomb Britain. But he failed. Hitler thought of changing his plan instead of getting rid of Britain, to start fighting Russia. He wanted to fight Russia first because if he was victorious over Russia, Britain would have no solution but peace because it would remain on its own. Hitler began preparing for the plan to invade Russia. The plan name was Operation Barbarossa. The plan aimed at defeating Russia during 5 months from May to October, because entering a war with Russia in the winter would mean a certain defeat. But in 1940, Mussolini decided to invade Greece, and in January 1941, Britain sends troops to help Greece, and Hitler had to send troops to help Italy, because they are allies. Hitler was now fighting on 3 fronts: Britain, Russia and Greece, All this delayed Hitler a month from invading Russia, and now he has only 4 months to defeat Russia. And on June 22, 1941, the German invasion of Russia began, the invasion in which more than 3 million officers and soldiers participated. The German army was superior to the Russian army in terms of discipline and organization, but the vast land areas and the large number of Russian soldiers made the Russian army withstand the German army, which failed to achieve its goal within 4 months. Things remained the same for the following summer. The German army commanders believed that they had won the war, and that it was only a matter of time for Russia and England to surrender. But everything changed in 1942 in the Battle of Stalingrad. Stalingrad was of great importance to Hitler, because it was the most important military manufacturing center in Russia. The fall of the city into the hands of the German army would be a heavy blow. In the summer of 1942, Germany attacked with all its might on Stalingrad and failed to achieve any victory before winter. The Russian army was able to launch a counterattack, which they succeeded in by surrounding the German Sixth Army. They surrounded more than 300,000 German soldiers. German officers began planning to retreat, but Hitler refused. The result was the fall of the German Sixth Army, which surrendered after many soldiers died. This was Hitler's first loss and changed the course of the war, and after Japan attacked the American fleet in the Pacific Ocean. Because Japan was fighting China and America was supporting China, Japan signed a treaty with Germany and Italy, and they became what is called Axis powers, and America stopped exporting petroleum to Japan. Japan decided to destroy the American fleet in the Pacific Ocean. In 1943, America helped the Allies defeat German submarines and defeat the German army in North Africa. The fascist party in Italy was able to isolate Mussolini with the approval of King Emmanuel, after which Mussolini would be assassinated by the communists and hanged from his feet in front of the people, and Italy would get out of the war. And Hitler lost his most important ally in Europe. And during the years 1943 and 1944, whenever Hitler fell, the neutral countries that were fighting on his side began to declare war on him. Romania, which was fighting on his side, declared war on Hitler, and also Bulgaria and the rest of the Allies. And on June 6, 1944, the Allies succeed in the landing operation on the Normandy beach to help France, and at the same time that Russia was crawling towards Berlin. The German army leaders were trying to persuade Hitler to surrender, but he refused. He believed that the reason for failure was the traitorous leaders who could not implement his plans. Hitler's continued obstinacy made some German officers believe that they must get rid of Hitler. And from September 1943 to February 1944, Hitler suffered 4 assassination attempts in just 6 months. The most dangerous attempt was the attempt by Klaus von, who detonated a bomb in a meeting of Hitler in an operation called Operation Valkyrie. Hitler lived, and he ordered to kill everyone who participated in this operation, and he started to lose his trust in everyone around him. And from January 1945, Hitler went into an underground bunker in Berlin to protect him from bombing. He stayed in the bunker with his entourage and his girlfriend, and with the arrival of the Allies in Berlin in April 1945, the story ends. Hitler commits suicide with his girlfriend. As it is said, a new empire was born called the United States of America, which took revenge on Japan with 2 nuclear bombs that ended the war.